Hi and welcome to the episode 4 commentary. So within this episode, this was our first episode that we filmed after like all the many lockdowns and the height of COVID. So we really wanted to show something more expansive than we did with the third episode, which was only created with 2 people. So we wanted to get like really nice vistas and really show off some really nice cinematography, as well as kind of again to play with the idea of Rachel being an unreliable narrator in terms of when she's talking about Scarlett. Everything she says about Scarlett is true, but she always imagines her through the lens of how she sees her now. When in reality, Scarlett, when she was going through similar things as the character of Rachel, was probably closer to age as Rachel herself. So we wanted to showcase that within the next couple of episodes with showing a younger Scarlett. Again, still tying in the Scarlett we know and love with the poster and the voiceover and the flashbacks. But again, just kind of to flesh out Scarlett as a character, as well as obviously everything about Scarlett is sort of reflected within Rachel's story. The 2 stories kind of, you know, it is Rachel's version of Scarlett, so everything has to be connected with how Rachel feels. And this was this episode is largely about finding your people, finding your person, your group, and kind of connection. We've dealt, you know, within the first couple of episodes about sort of isolation and sort of the symptoms and sort of a lot of the pain. But I think one of the things I really wanted this show to show as well is that talking about things help and trying to sort of connect to a community. You know, you aren't the only, you know, as ME sufferers, we can often feel completely alone and completely isolated. But there's lots of people within the UK, within the world, that are going through similar. So this was an episode, again, to kind of explore something that we have looked at and have seen the character of Rachel tempted. Even in episode 1, she was tempted to sort of join this Facebook group, which we're seeing now. But this time, you know, years of sort of life have kind of made her perspective change, and you know it's not healthy just kind of having all these thoughts to yourself, which, you know, obviously for Rachel sort of manifests as her talking to this imagined version of Scarlett. And it's another chance to kind of bring another character with different experiences of ME and sort of just again, you know, everyone with ME is so different, and you know, so you know, there's obviously a lot of similarities, but you know, we are still people and individuals, and how we handle it and deal with it, you know, it is different each person. And you know, often, you know, within the comment sections of each episode, we'll get sort of comments like, oh, you know, I wish I was like, you know, I haven't got it as good as Rachel, or, you know, or I, you know, I relate to bits of it, but not all of it. So, you know, we wanted to kind of, as the show has gone on, to centre it a little bit more about not just Rachel. You know, at this point, we've introduced the real Scarlett who had ME, and that is, you know, we've seen like very severe ME, you know, to the level of being on sort of breathing apparatus. And within this episode, we're going to sort of tackle and show a different character with ME, someone that, you know, is very good at putting on a front and kind of hiding her emotions, you know, as of obviously I'm hoping that you've watched the episode at this point, but you know, as we find out, a lot of that is kind of a front, and you know, a lot of people kind of, when you are as sick as people with ME are, it's inevitable that, you know, dealing with so much pain on a daily basis is going to take its toll on you mentally as well. I think it's kind of inevitable. You know, we all kind of carry baggage around with it, I think. And I think particularly true in the case of if your formative years, you know, your teenage years, when you're kind of finding who you are and who you are as a person, I think it's kind of obvious that, you know, you're going to be feeling that even more, really, because you haven't even lived in the world and found out who you are yet, and now your whole life is defined by this one illness. So I think this is, you know, with the text and stuff, I think this is a really nice scene, just kind of showing people connecting, particularly kind of the fact that 2 people, and the joy of, really, I think we've often seen now in media, all the bad parts about social media, which obviously there's many, but you know, the internet brings with it the ability to connect with people from all over, and here's two characters of a similar age kind of bonding across hundreds of miles about their shared experiences with Emmy. And I think that's kind of a beautiful thing to see, hopefully.
Did you ever see that Ricky Gervais?
And Ricky Gervais, I mean, this is a sort of, I would say that, having seen that clip, if people aren't aware, he sort of did a joke about, how you kind of don't get Emmy in Africa because, it's I'm paraphrasing here, but it's, he's basically defined it as just being lazy. And I'd say that was a massive impetus for me all those years ago. We're talking years and years now, to write this show, because that is, and I think it still is, the clip with the most views when you type in the word Emmy into YouTube, and that obviously kind of doesn't help, and it accentuates the myths around Emmy and all the negative stereotyping that goes with it. So I kind of wanted to have my little say and my little pop at that. Again, I think that's our first sort of fade to black within the show. Again, just kind of wanting to show time passing. And, again, talking about the joy of the internet, when I was the same age and younger, I was 12 when I was first diagnosed with ME. We were still on dial-up back then, and there was no such thing as video chatting, and social media wasn't a thing. It was 2002. To download a picture, you had to sort of brace yourself for a really long wait. And, if someone called the phone, then you would lose that picture. So again, this is kind of highlighting that there are some positive things, and this is Malia who obviously plays Mia. For those that don't know, Malia is amazing. She's been involved since the very first episode. She herself suffers with ME. Has wrote some of the poetry in the first two episodes, and is always involved. Always is a script supervisor and gives her opinion in a say, and having her play this character, I think, really brings another layer of realness to it. And I know that she saw a lot within the character, and I think that their relationship is really lovely, even in this sort of scene where essentially, it's two people talking to a screen. I think it comes across, sort of, I hope it does, the connection between them, because they're both obviously, at this point you all know, and what Rachel's been through, and obviously Chloe's a very, very talented actress, and I think immediately, Malia brings a real likability to Mia, which will then hopefully have made things shocking as it goes on. And as with a lot of our episodes, we sort of hit a montage, and anyone that's seen the episodes to this point know that I'm a fan of a montage, again showing passage of time, and each montage within the episodes always has a slightly different flavour. I think largely to this point, a lot of them have been very, very sad and showing symptoms and kind of the sort of daily struggles with ME. So it is kind of nice to have this montage that is joyous and happy, because it's a lot to in life, everything, even as ME sufferers, I hope that we all experience moments of happiness, because life isn't one note, and just because you have an illness, it doesn't mean that the only emotion you feel is sort of sadness. You still have the other emotions, they just kind of aren't accessed as often, is maybe the best way to say it. But again, I really think this is again Chloe giving her a chance to kind of show some other sides to her character, and I always enjoy that, and I know that she always enjoys it, because our shoot days are very long. As you can see to this point, it's usually a long time for Chloe in one spot. Usually we're shooting for 6 to 10 hours in one space, and particularly long for this shoot, because we shot 4 and 5 back to back over the summer of 2020. 1.
No reply.
So we shot every shot that we needed in the bedroom for 4 and 5 in this one episode. So a lot to shoot and a lot of dialogue to cover, and a long time in one space. And here we get to kind of the crux of our story and what we've been building to, which is obviously, again, I wanted that area of, the worry to step in as you can't get in contact with someone, you don't hear from them. And this, this story now of, finding out what has happened to Malia's character came from the podcast, for people who don't know, before we started filming episode 1 all those years ago. We did a couple of podcasts and we spoke to different people, parents, people with ME and stuff like that, and we heard some stories about people who had, tried to take their own lives and things like that. And I think to be accurate to ME, we have to kind of acknowledge that is a thought process that you can have, particularly in your teenage years. And I wanted to kind of have our say about it and kind of, handle it in hopefully as much of a delicate way, and kind of talk about it, but also talk about, that, hopefully, it can lead to positivity, when things settle, and, again, to have a sort of statement about, people not understanding me, and that is, as bad as the illness is, it's the fact that there's so much stigma to it, and there's just such a lack of basic understanding to it that never helps. Also, as you can probably see, it was absolutely grim and thundering and raining as we were filming this, so you might have just spotted a little bit of a raindrop land on the camera. It was a brutal shoot, but that was what we were able to do, and I'm really proud of the crew for doing that. I mean, I'm really proud of everything that we did. That summer, because shooting 2 back to back, it's sort of a mental arithmetic of figuring out what bits we're shooting for 4, which bits we're shooting for 5. We kind of got around a lot of North Wales and, different costume changes, and kind of keeping track of where to what. And again, we're bringing the episode to an end, really talking about, support and being there for one another, which hopefully as a community, the ME community, I think, is very supportive of one another. And I found that with this show, and hopefully this show has shown that, we're all in this together. And again, some facts here that we always find. I probably should sort of say where I got them from each time, but I haven't in the prior episode, so to keep consistency, I have not in this one, but they tend to be, a lot of our facts tend to be from either the ME Association or Action for ME and places like that. They're all from reputable sources. So that is the end of episode 4 and the commentary for that. I hope that it's given you some extra perspective on things and why we have made certain decisions, and kind of some of the behind the scenes information. And particularly I like to kind of focus on the writing, because I really want people who particularly have ME to understand that everything within this show comes from the best place possible, and me kind of writing the show that I wish I had as a teenager. Hopefully people who are older who have ME will also get positive things from it, but being that I was 12 to 18, that's why I kind of aimed the show at. So yeah, thank you very much for watching. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and until next time, thanks for watching.